So it's Season 6 now, and everybody's probably thinking to themselves, what are the good picks in the meta right now? Who should I be playing? How's the meta going overall? And, you know, anything in between with that. And today I want to tell you guys who are some of the good picks as far as popularity, win rate, and really just how the meta is kind of shaping up in this brand new season. Now, with that said, it doesn't really matter, I guess, if you want to play these picks or if you don't. You can really play whoever the heck you want to and climb eventually. I'd say, of course, the better characters you can climb with faster, and the worst characters it'll take longer to climb, but you can climb with whoever. So if you don't really care about how long it takes to climb, you know, pick whoever you want to. However, if you do prefer to climb up faster or to just play some characters that are better, or if you just like to know what characters are pretty good right now, then here we go, we got the video for you. Anyways, with that said, let's just talk about, in general, all the different characters. I'm going to be starting from the best and go down to the worst. And a lot of the guys in the middle, I'm going to be skimming over pretty quickly because there are so many heroes in this game. So I mainly want to focus on some of the better ones and some of the worst ones. And then, of course, just, I guess, go over a little bit some of the characters in the middle. So, first off, we have Symetra and Torb. Now, I say these characters are very similar because a lot of the times you will pick them both up, or one or the other up on defense, you know, mix it up with an Orisa, mix it up with some other random defensive comp. And both the characters have about a 1 or 1.5% play rate. However, they also both have a 60% win rate on Symetra or a 57% win rate on Torb. On defense, these characters win a ton of games. They are super clutch picks. They allow that really early teleporter. Molten Core can win you a lot of points. And overall on defense, if you're picking Torb or Symetra, it's just been working out. And it's been getting better and better and better every single season. It works really well against dive comp. And of course, against a slow push comp, it also works decently well as well, because of course Symetra can poke through the shields with a right click, and Torb's turret can do a decent amount of damage versus that as well. I feel like it might work a little bit better on dive comp, so as that dies out, it might go down a little bit, but as far as right now, it's super strong. The next character that we have to talk about is Junkrat. Junkrat has just exploded onto the meta, and he's right now technically probably the best character in the game as far as just win rate and play rate. So, he has a 4.26% play rate, which is pretty good, it's pretty popular, and a 55% win rate. So, a lot of people are picking up this character, probably because he does a lot of consistent damage, a lot of burst damage, and he can actually win you a lot of points on offense or defense. He can just, overall, carry you a lot of games that a lot of the other DPS really can't happen to do right now. And as well, he counters a lot of dive pretty well, because, of course, his trap that he can lay on the ground, or he can just throw a mine, explode, shoot, throw another mine, explode, and you can just kind of zone out a lot of the other dive characters. Or I guess you can just kill Winston, because you can do that pretty quickly as Junkrat now. Overall, yeah, he's quite good, and he works great also with his own Reinhardt or with his own Diva, so he works, you know, good at countering the current dive meta, or working well with the new shield meta that's coming kind of back up. After that, we have Zenyatta, who's been good for a long time now. Probably the highest win rate support, and one of the supports that can really carry you a lot of games if you get pretty good at him. So he has about a 7% popularity rate, so he's picked quite often, and then a 54% win rate, which is quite good as well. Zenyatta's just strong because he works well in both metas. Of course, in dive meta, you just put your E on somebody, and you say to your team, okay everybody, target that guy, let's bomb on him, there we go. You're probably going to be able to kill him. As well with that though, in the other meta, you can just give your tanks that don't do way too much damage, like your Reinhardt, a little bit of extra damage, and mainly, you can put your Discord on certain characters, and then Junkrat can throw out his mine, and then one-shot them, so that's really useful as well. And overall with Soldier and Zenyatta and all those different combos, it works pretty well. Zen right now is just in a good place, so if you want to pick a support that can actually carry you games, and one-shot people with an alt fire, there you go, you might want to pick him up. Now, a DPS that I thought I was really not expecting to be so high is Reaper. So Reaper actually has a 54% win rate about as well, which is quite good. He doesn't have the highest play rate, with only about a 3% play rate, and you know, Soldier having about a 6%, but still, he has a similar play rate to Pharah, but a much higher win rate, so you can kind of keep that in your mind. I feel like Reaper is very good because, again, he can do quite a decent amount of damage to all the dive tanks, which he can counter them, and then your team can actually go in from there. And even against shield metas, you can just blast a ton of damage into shields. So again, no matter what meta it is, it's just working out pretty well. We all know that his rework, or I guess his weird passive rework, was super useful for him, and now he does just a lot more survivability. And I feel like Reaper has really just kind of taken the place of Doomfist. Instead of Doomfist, we see Reaper in most cases. As well, we see a lot of Reaper on defense and a decent amount on offense. Both work pretty well, but I guess defense we see a little bit more. It just kind of depends on the game though. A kind of weird pick, and this is just kind of, you know, how stats work, is that we have Bastion at a 53% win rate, but with a 0.5% play rate. So his stats are kind of skewed. It's kind of hard to tell how strong he is because so little people play him, but, you know, if you get good as him, obviously it works pretty well. As far as the best tank, we have D.Va, which I think most people could assume. She has a almost 8% play rate with a 53% win rate, which is great because the higher play rate you have, the harder it is to get a high win rate because, you know, you have more players, more scrubs, more people just picking up the character that don't really main her. But even with all that in mind, with D.Va, it doesn't really matter. She's just so strong in really all the metas right now. Her defense matrix just counters all the DPS in the game. And of course, since Zarya isn't super OP right now, she's not really that great. She's okay, but not really that great. It's kind of hard to counteract the D.Va. As well, Roadhog's not way too amazing. Not bad, but not way too amazing. So yeah, D.Va can overall wreak a lot of havoc, works great with, you know, Orisa, with Reinhardt, with a lot of these other characters, and of course with Winston, and I guess finally just with all the other divers. I think if there is going to continue to be a dive meta, it would be because of D.Va, but of course this is not encountering D.Va's, you know, new update that's coming out pretty soon where she gets the micro missiles. That's probably going to come out in a month, so I'm going to have to talk about her later and see how that kind of works out. But still, if you've been playing D.Va in the past and you want to keep playing her, just go for it. D.Va's honestly just going to be almost just as good, so yeah, just continue with that. Genji is another character that we pretty much always known is quite good. He's always been able to carry if you can get good as him, and nothing's really different as far as it goes right now. Again, he works good with and without a shield. He can dive the backline, and of course, since dive meta seems to not really be killed in this patch, as we see a lot of good dive heroes still here, you can take that as you really will right there. Yeah, Genji's doing pretty good, you know, about a 3% play rate, and then of course, a 53% win rate again. Quite strong. As far as Mercy, she has an 11% play rate. 11% of the population of people are playing Mercy, and she still has a 52% win rate. I think that could show that she's just better than the average support, better than the average thing, and yeah, she's a strong character. Tons of people play her. The rework, I guess, again, like D.Va, we're going to have to wait and see how that goes, but seeing as they are both some of the strongest characters in the game right now, that's just a kind of nice thing to know. And I guess one of the final people that I feel like is a very strong pick right now is going to be Soldier76. He has a 6.2% play rate and a 52% win rate as well. So, you know, that's pretty good. He's always been in a good spot. He can work kind of well on dive if you go triple dive. Because, you know, Soldier's just kind of in the back line getting a lot of damage as the other tanks can't really block your other DPS. That's kind of nice. And then, of course, with the Reinhardt shield, it's pretty easy to know, you know, Soldier just shoots behind it and goes in from there. And that's really all you need to know about that. And those are some of the best characters I feel like in this meta right now. Now, as far as, you know, most of the middle characters, we have Roadhog with a 52%, we have Orisa with another 52, we have Pharah with a 51, Winston with a 51, McCree with a 50, Reinhardt with a 50, Zarya with a 50, and Tracer with a 50, and then Lucio with a 50. And those are all the characters that I feel like are very good, or at least not very good. They're pretty okay. They're picks that you can go for, and it mainly just depends if you want to play a diving meta or if you want to play a shielding meta. It seems like right now, as far as win rates go, of course, Winston and Reinhardt are actually getting really close to each other, and their play rates are getting really close as well. So it's kind of like a weird mix right now where people can't decide. Is it dive? Is it going to be a slow push? And probably in a month, when we finally kind of figure it out a little bit more, we're going to have the new D.Va rework, and we're going to have the new Mercy rework, which will kind of mess everything up as well. All you really need to know, though, is that all these characters are pretty good, and as well the fact that you can play dive or you can play slow push right now, and they all work well together. So you can pick really anything, and that's all you really need to know about these middle of the road characters. Personally, I was thinking Pharah was going to be being a lot more picked of a character and have a much higher win rate, but not really. She's not really that overpowered. So there you go with that. That was just something I was kind of a little bit surprised with. Now, to some of the characters that are doing really terrible right now, that you still can pick, but are not the most optimal picks for the most part. First off, we got Widowmaker. Yeah, she has a 1.5% play rate, which isn't awful, but only a 49% win rate, which again isn't awful, but the rework obviously, or I guess the slight buff to her, didn't really do way too much. She's essentially exactly where she was before, so you can play her if you're good as her, but you shouldn't if you aren't really good as her, and the meta usually doesn't matter way too much for Widow. Of course, dive does still hurt her, but yeah, it's essentially if you're good, play her. If you're not, don't. Now, the next one, which I thought was really weird, Doomfist only has a 48% win rate and a like 0.96% popularity rate. Only 0.96 of players are going to pick him in competitive games. That's just so weird to me. Doomfist was the character that everybody played for a while. Everybody wanted to learn him. And then just, I think, nobody really liked the way his kit worked out. His kit is like a weird defensive assassin kit. It's not tanky. It's not that great at getting kills in a lot of situations. Obviously, it isn't way too terrible, but it's just kind of an awkward kit. And I don't know. I personally kind of wish that he was more of a bruiser, that he could fit more into that role with a slightly more crowd control, but less damage and more shields. I feel like that could probably fit his kit a lot better than what Blizzard tried to shove him into, which doesn't really make any sense, but yeah, he's obviously not that great right now. Now to Mei, she has a 0.7% play rate, which you would assume because it's so low, she'd have a very high win rate, kind of like Bastion, but it's not really like that. She is only a 48% win rate, so Mei's a character, I guess, where if you even just play her as a Mei main, it just doesn't give you way too much results in return. Probably because so many characters counter this character, and Mei is very, very situational depending on the map, and depending on what your team comp is. You can't really just pick her up whenever you want to. While a lot of people do that, it's just going to be really hard for you. As far as something that was kind of confusing that I did not expect, Ana's a character with only a 47% win rate, but a 6% play rate. Unlike all these other characters that are all the way at the bottom of the barrel, they all have very low play rates. People can kind of assume that they aren't that great and they aren't picking her way too much, or I guess they aren't picking these heroes way too much. But with Ana, a ton of people are picking Ana, but only 47% of them are winning games. So, I don't know. It just seems like Ana is very weak right now. Of course, in dive comps, she's very hard to play. She gets killed all the time. And I guess when you're playing her in just a slow push comp, she could be a bit better. But a lot of the times, you'd rather have a Zen to boost her damage a little bit, because it's a lot of times hard for you to get your DPS to be able to, or I guess not your DPS, but to get your tanks to be able to get a lot of damage out with your Ana ult, while, you know, Zen ult can just save your whole team. And I don't know, I guess her healing just isn't really good enough right now, and it's not really a tank meta right now, which she works quite well in, so I don't know. If you want to play as tank, or if you want to play support, and you really want to play Ana, sure, you can still go for it, but if you're just picking a random support, I'd say don't play Ana, just play literally any of the other supports, unless you want to main her. Now, as far as the last two, they're characters that everybody likes to say are very good, and I agree, they can be good if you are amazing at these characters, but don't pick these guys unless you main them. The first one being Sombra, almost a 1% play rate, but then a 46% win rate, which isn't that good, obviously. I think we can all agree with that. Sombra, I feel like, can be super good if you can get your ults up quick on offense, or I guess even on defense on certain points. Get your ult up really quick, the enemy team is about to engage on you, you ult up, and your whole team wipes them. However, if your team isn't really ready for the Sombra ult, or if they aren't really using the health packs way too well, or if they aren't really charging your ult quick enough, it's just not going to work out way too well for you. Of course, her hack is very strong, her whole kit is pretty strong, but I feel like your team does need to know really what you're doing, and the higher elo you get, I feel like more people will probably understand what to do with Sombra, but especially if you're in low elo, I feel like Sombra's a pick that you still can play, that you still can go for, but that no matter what the meta really is, if your team just doesn't really understand how to play with her, you're just going to lose a lot of games, which just kind of sucks. And it's not even like people are throwing because they have Sombras in their games anymore. A lot of people kind of accept that Sombra is okay now. It's just, I don't know, I guess a lot of people don't really like what's going on with her, and I guess she's just not doing that great overall in competitive. And as far as the worst character in the game right now, again, for like a lot of times in a row, which I'm very sad about, we got Hanzo, 1.3% popularity, which isn't bad. It's a lot better than Mei, Doomfist, or Bastion, or any of those characters, or even Sombra, but only, again, a 46% win rate, which, yeah, again, isn't way too great. I feel like Hanzo's kind of in a similar spot to Sombra, but Sombra just needs like a good team to work with her and to really, you know, get ready for those ults and really focuses on that. While Hanzo just needs to be amazing at getting picks and becoming just a very consistent player on a pretty inconsistent character. I know a lot of people hate when I call Hanzo inconsistent because you look at all these top players with their best moments and they hit every single shot, but when you actually watch their live streams, a lot of the games just aren't nearly as impressive and they don't nearly hit as much stuff. Because Hanzo's just kind of hard to hit with. His projectiles semi-slow, not that slow, but semi-slow, and of course it doesn't have the largest hitbox in the game, and of course you can dodge it, and people can just jump straight onto you, and of course, as well, you can be dived, or if you try to shoot people behind a shield, you can't do way too well as well. I feel like Hanzo's just a character that's very hard to play, very hard to master, but if you do happen to master him, you become good at him, and you'll start to climb very quickly, but obviously for the majority of people, it's not really going to happen to you way too quickly. As well, let's say Hanzo's probably a pick that you want to play after you get decent other DPS, because then you're going to learn where to position, how to play it well, and learn all that type of stuff, and then you can focus on the Hanzo aiming later on when you actually decide to pick him up. Picking up Hanzo from scratch can kind of be a pain in your butt, because you're going to be doing doubly bad, not really knowing where to position, and as well, not really being able to aim way too well. So maybe I do that, you know, focus on playing another DPS for a while, kind of like Soldier or McCree or one of those type of characters, and then switch to Hanzo after, and start climbing again from him. Again, though, it is going to be the hardest character to climb with. We do see some top 500 Hanzos, not going to throw it out the window, but he is going to be pretty hard to climb with. But in general, that's kind of how the meta is going. Overall, the meta is, right now, either a medium slow push comp with, you know, Reinhardt or Orisa and then a D.Va, or a dive comp still with a Winston and a D.Va. You can see D.Va in both comps a lot. And then, of course, you have, like, Tracer, you have Soldier, you have, of course, Reaper, maybe you have Genji, one of those different characters. And then, of course, on the slow push comp, you're probably going to have Junkrat. Maybe you'll have Zen, you'll probably have D.Va, and you'll probably have Soldier. So, a lot of the same characters are very good on both types of comps, so, you know, you can take that either way. They do play quite differently. One's quite slower and one's quite diving. And I feel like the dive comp works a little bit better in high elo, while the other comp works a little bit better in the lower elos, because it's a lot easier to slow push in low elo than it is in high elo, because a lot of times you're going to get dived and it's going to be kind of hard. So do keep that in mind when you're picking your team comp. But overall, I feel like it's kind of nice because you can pick either now and at least do okay. And this will probably be how it is for about the next month until a lot of changes come in. Or I guess until just everyone figures out that maybe for some reason, let's say, you know, like Mei is super overpowered in this meta for X reason, and then maybe she gets picked. I don't know. Unless we find some broken random thing, I feel like that is going to be how the meta does kind of work for the next few months. Or I guess the next month. Anyways, as always, guys, that is just my own personal opinion about all the different characters. Sorry I did have to skip a good chunk in the middle, but just do remember, those guys are playable, they are good, they aren't really going to lose you any games, and they aren't going to really win you any games by default. They're just pretty okay picks. But at least, as always, that is my own opinion, and mainly just what I've been kind of looking up upon, reading up upon, and just kind of learning from watching the meta and watching all the changes. Anyways, as always, guys, thank you all for watching. Sorry for making this video so long, but I don't know how to make it any shorter, other than just kind of listing what I feel like is important. If you have any other suggestions in the future, please do tell me. But anyways, as always, guys, thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful day.